Finally, we get to Diana Wild. Diana will be our speaker today. Her name of her company is Side by Side. I'm anxious to hear what she's got to say. We've had some conversations in the last few months about what she wants to get done, so she's come a long way in a short time.
I have.
Diana,
Thanks.
take it away.
Thanks, Steve. This is a presentation in 2 parts. So here's the first part. I own a business called Side by Side, and I help seniors, persons with disabilities, and their families navigate the healthcare system. 6 months ago in July, I interviewed for a job and I was offered $10 an hour. I said no thank you and walked out and said, I am going to start my own business. A colleague had told me about community development resources. I called Doris Miller at CDR and she encouraged me to sign up for the SCORE classes. I did. And they call it, as Steve was mentioning, this series of classes called How to Start Your Own Business. I met Steve and he invited me to attend a Perk Up session. And it just so happened in September that session, the presenter was Doris Miller. And she talked about offering the reimbursement of tuition. I went in to talk to Doris and applied for reimbursement and she made it happen. I attended my first SCORE class on how to start your own business, and I met Ken Merlin. Ken is my SCORE mentor, and from mid-September until mid-November, we met every Tuesday from 1 to 2 or 2:30. He'd look over my homework, he'd say, now go back and try that again. And then I'd come to class and do the next stuff. I heard about a micro loan fund called Alice's Integrity Loan Fund. Alice Stitman is a former president of Cornhusker Bank. Her son is now the president. And she set up this loan fund for mostly women who are trying to start a small business on a shoestring. So I applied for the loan. It's a 13-page thing. In it, you essentially have to write your business plan. I got the loan. And along with the loan, they paid for 12 hours for me to spend time with a professional marketing expert. So that has really been a great thing. So because I got the loan I was able to hire a designer for my cards, my flyer, my logo. I hired my attorney, a CPA who set up my books and is teaching me how to do QuickBooks. So I go to him about once a month and we go through my stuff, and if I'm not doing it right, he shows me how to fix it. I launched my business in October of this year. So 6 months ago, I was offered $10 an hour, and in October, I actually launched my business. Since that time, I've been networking all over town. I've been invited to 6 networking groups. I've joined 4. In mid-November, I had 1 week where I did 13 events in 1 week. I met with bankers, lawyers, and accountants whose clients might need my service. I'm meeting with and learning about other businesses who also provide assistance to seniors and disabled people. Every day, I spend several hours a day either out meeting people or setting up meetings or doing more work on my business to connect with more people. My marketing professional, Diane Sifkas, has teaching me to use LinkedIn. I'm not a natural at tech stuff, and every time she comes and she says, now we're going to do this, and I go, oh no, really? She says, yes, that's what you have to do. I keep touch with my banker, my microloan provider, with Doris, with my CPA, my mentor. I let them know what I'm doing, what progress I've made, and they are just the best cheerleaders for me. They keep encouraging me that someday this is gonna happen. Some days I'm thinking, why am I doing this? It's never gonna work. Then I'd walk out of a presentation and I think, yes, I am a businesswoman. I just rocked that thing. Okay, that's the end of part one. Okay, part two, I have a business called Side by Side. I sit next to a senior, a disabled person and their families, and try to sort out what is happening in their life. I do a full assessment that takes a couple of hours at minimum to find out what's happening. Where are they living? What's their situation? Where's their family? And I just try to create the big picture of what is happening with this person. And then I use that information to create a care plan. Often the care plan is what is the first crisis that we have to deal with. And then we work down from there, depending on what the priorities are. I will accompany a client to a doctor or other specialist visits where I will take notes, ask questions, and then at the end of the visit, I will write a summary report and give it to those who are entitled to have that information. I reconcile Medicare and other insurance paperwork and make sure it all matches up with the medical bills. And if you've ever looked at a Medicare EOB, you know what I'm talking about. It can get really confusing and messy. I know how to do that. If my client is still living in their own home, I'm going to do everything I can to keep them safely at home. That's always my first goal. If it turns out that we can't keep them safely at home, then we're going to be looking for alternatives. What is the next least restrictive place that they can live where they will be safe and that they will enjoy a high quality of life? If needed, I do personal shopping. I had a client who was living in a local community. She had a stroke and she dropped 4 sizes in her clothes. Everything in her closet was too big, did not look nice. I checked with the CPA who told me, oh yes, there's plenty of resources. I went out, I went to Dillard's, I actually found a salesperson, and she walked through the store with me and I put together 4 or 5 outfits. I knew this lady before she'd become ill. I knew what she liked, I knew her colors, I knew that she even liked her socks and if possible her shoes to match what she was wearing. So I just went out and bought some outfits and how about this one, Joan? Do you like this? How about that? And if the ones she liked we kept and the rest went back. My credentials are that I have a master's degree in counseling from the university here in town. I also have some extra hours in gerontology, which is the study of aging. Early in my career, I worked as a hospital social worker on a burn care unit, emergency, and just a medical surgical floor as well. I also worked in the office of the public guardian of a very large city. The public guardian was an elected official, but I was the actual person who did the work. I managed a caseload of 60 persons. They were all placed somewhere, but I was in charge and responsible for filling their needs, managing the money, making sure things were going well. I even shopped for Christmas presents. I also was director of social services at a home health care agency. My most recent experience is that I have a 30-year-old daughter who has a kidney transplant. I've been her medical case manager for the past 20 years. I come with a lot of different kinds of experiences. My passion has always been working with seniors. Ever since I took one class and had an occasion to do some reporting on aging. It became my passion and it still is today. I have, for my business, no contract requiring a minimum number of hours or months of service. We have a very simple contract that says we'll work together as long as we both like each other, and when one of us decides we're done, then we're done. So I will work with a family for as much or as little as they think they need. That's all I have to say, and I'm happy to take questions.
About a week ago, I had the pleasure of talking with you for quite a while, and I just, not on a question, but I just want to thank you for your passion, for the meeting that we had.
Thank you, Doug. Yeah,
So do you do a straight hourly rate
Yes.
of your services?
yes, yes. Everything's on my website. It's not a secret, I'll just tell you.
Okay. Okay.
For a family that wants to just have a one-time meeting with me, we sit down for a couple of hours. I use my assessment forms to, gather information. And I'm gonna say, oh, here are the top 3 things you need to do, and go forth and do them, and that's $100. If there's a situation where someone wants to maintain a more longer-term relationship with me, that initial assessment is going to take more time, because I'm going to fill out every blank space on my forms, and then I'm going to create a care plan, and that's $150, and then after that, it's a simple $50 an hour for whatever time I spend. Anyone else? Yeah.
Are you confined just to the Lincoln
Yes.
city limits?
Well, city limits,
I mean, the Lincoln area?
the Lincoln area, yeah.
Because, so you can travel. I looked at your website, gorgeous.
Thank you.
I was really impressed. The only thing missing is, I think, when I'm looking for services like yours, I'd like to see the face of the person that you work with.
Yeah, we're working on that.
that.
There's a little picture of me on the bottom, but yeah, I know. We're working on it. Yeah.
Any thoughts on, like, is it just for others or?
Or disabled people.
Or disabled?
Mhm.
So I will, like, I'm diabetic, I've been diabetic since I was in 6th grade.
Uh-huh.
And would you do something with, I know my mom would love that, like, we went to endocrinology,
Mhm.
meetings all the time, she would really enjoy that. And help her.
Yes.
So,
No age limit, if that's your question. I'm going to be happy to work with anyone who needs help navigating the system.
very cool.
Diana, you mentioned accompanying the people to the doctor's
Uh-huh.
office, but they have to provide the transportation.
Thank you, Annette. No, I do not transport. So depending on where the person lives, if they are already living in a community, I'm going to just drive over and ride in the community vehicle, van, or whatever to the doctor's office. Sometimes it makes more sense, I'll just meet them at the doctor's office. They've been delivered by the van, and I'll meet them there. But usually I ride over. If they still live at home, in Lincoln, there are some medical transport companies that are able to accommodate a wheelchair. They're like minivans where the seats are gone in the back, and then they have a way to push a wheelchair up. So I do not transport, but there are lots of ways we can accomplish that.
Somebody needs help with medications, do you set those up?
No.
And if not, what are the options for them? What would you do?
I would call in someone who's a professional, some company that does home care, and they'll take care of it. Anything that I don't do, I know who to call.
There are companies that exist where you can get in certified medication aid,
Yes?
so they would be able to help with medications
Right.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, Deanna, with my parents, the experience we've had and are still having is that they're reluctant to reach out for help because of pride or whatever it might be. So it usually falls on the children to understand that there's an issue and that something needs to happen. Can you explain how that dynamic works? Are you usually hired by your clients, or do you get contacted by their kids who know mom and dad need help? But
Sure.
how does that work?
Well, let me clarify, I'm new. Right now, I have one client, but I can take a referral from anyone. A trust officer who knows there's a concern, and they don't have time to manage that, but they're kind of nervous about their client that's still living in their own home. So they might call me. This gives me an opportunity to clarify that there's 2 things happening here. I have whoever's paying me, that's like a customer, that's the person paying me. And then over here is my client. My ethics, my professional requirements are that I have to see to my client's best interests. And if the person who's paying decides they don't want what I think is best for the client, we're probably gonna part ways, just because I can't do something to keep the inheritance big. Yeah, and I don't think I've answered your question quite yet, so keep asking me again.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just find that they're very reluctant to
Yeah.
reach out for help.
Right.
Like you would provide.
Mhm.
And it's oftentimes falls on the kids.
Yes.
To know that their parents need something, especially if it's a long distance situation.
That's right.
And to find help for them that they feel comfortable with, because they're just not, it's like, I've always done it myself.
Mhm.
I don't need help, I can do it, when you realize they
Yeah.
really need help.
Right. And that's exactly what I think is gonna happen, is that someone's children are going to call me, and I'm not a scary looking person. I can ease into a conversation with someone fairly easily and meet them where they are. So if someone calls me, I can certainly find a way to sit down with mom or dad and just talk. And maybe I can get them to come along, but maybe not. And as long as they are still competent, legally competent, if they choose to say no thank you, then it's no thank you.
So do you market mostly to the children or to the seniors?
I-
Reach the seniors.
You're right. I market to trust departments, attorneys who do estate planning, CPAs, and as I'm now out meeting one by one, providers. Carla and her business. I was just out to Clark Jerry yesterday, took the tour and learned all about Clark Jerry. So I'm out there meeting and greeting everybody. And so I'm marketing across the spectrum. And it's just whoever happens to find out about it, and I will come and sit down and talk and decide if this makes sense. Does that answer?
Word of mouth is gonna help you in
Yes,
the long run,
yes,
yeah.
it does. Yeah.
Yes, would you consider doing kind of motivational speaking at retirement centers of some sort?
I hadn't thought about that.
You know, I think that that might be a way so that you're not selling your product, but you can talk about what, you know, the different kinds of ways that people can enhance their quality of life.
Mhm. Yeah, and actually, I'm trying to get in front of a certain group, and they don't allow a sales type of presentation. But I'm trying to negotiate with them. Can I just come in and talk about the emerging need for people like me, because baby boomers are now all moving through the system, and this bubble is going to last through 2060, because baby boomers' children, like me, are aging. My children are children, and you know, they're gonna age, and the bubble is gonna go out for a long, long time. So it's important to now start educating everybody that working with seniors is here to stay, and it's gonna need all kinds of professionals. Yeah.
Have you contacted Aging Partners?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
good.
Randy Jones and I used to work together at the American Red Cross.
Good. That's a good source.
Are you gonna be training people to work with you?
Well, at some point. Right now, it's me.
Right.
Ken, my mentor, said, you're gonna reach capacity in the first month. And I said, no, I won't. You know, so he's saying, you're gonna have to hire somebody, and I'm not quite ready to do that.
When you're, in your experience for safety, what are some common things that you see that all of us would be smart make sure that we deal with before
Yeah.
they become a danger?
If someone is a fall risk, that's a danger sign. And if someone is alone and they are a fall risk for whatever reason, it's not quite safe. If someone has dementia for whatever reason and they might wander, that's becomes a safety issue unless we can provide 24-hour care at home, and that can be done if there are resources. There are a lot of ways that we can keep a person safely at home if they have enough resources. If there's not enough resources to do that, then we might have to look for a different option. Somebody over here was reading.
Two-part question. One, do you take Medicare clients or all private?
It's private pay.
Second question is, what is your minimum hour that you will work with someone?
I have no minimum. If you don't need me, you don't need me.
Got time for one more question?
I would say that I've learned quite a bit today, and I think that marketing towards the children of these aging people is probably a great thing to do, just because you could give resources as to what to look for in our aging parents, because I think, with my parents being 60 miles away, I may see them a couple times a month, but I guess I need to know the signs of what I'm looking for, so that I know that they do need the care, because in my eyes, I think they're invincible and everything's fine forever. So I think it's, even to put a little thing on your website for children of aging parents, signs to look for, that kind of thing.
Thank you. That's easy. I've got a LinkedIn post this month about that, but thank you. That's a good idea for my website. Anyway.
All right, Diana, thank you so much.